Here's our friend Syncin Stan in Florida. What's going on? Tim, how are you, buddy?
Syncin Stanley here, Eddie. And listen, I'm going to get to what band I think was supposed to be huge. But first, I got to ask you about that Spinal Tap movie. So they're really making a Spinal Tap 2?
It's in production right now, man.
That's awesome. You know what would be awesome? If like David St. Hubbins, if it's tape glitched on stage, and he said, "Oh no, watch out! They're going to be talking about us on Eddie Trunk, and the Sync Army's going to be on us."
Well, that's actually that would, and I don't know if Rob Reiner's finished the film or not, but that actually would be a great point. That actually would be a really funny part in the movie with all the madness that's going on in music, is to have a moment where they can't sing, they can't play anymore, so they decide to put it all on tracks and they get busted. Like that could be like the equivalent of like when the little Stonehenge came down.
Exactly, it'd be awesome.
What's your band, man?
God. Oh, and the band that I think should have been huge, without a doubt, is Saigon Kick. What's your thoughts on that, Eddie?
I think, and thank you, Stan / our screener put up Syncin Stan, so I'm calling him Stan. Saigon Kick. I'm with you. I love Saigon Kick, and I think so. It's interesting when I talked about earlier in the show, if Kicks would have come a little later, would things have been different? I wonder if Saigon Kick came out just a couple years later, if things would have been different. And here's why I say that. Because Saigon Kick was really, to me, like a bridge between the stuff that was going on in the 80s and what was coming with the Seattle sound. Saigon Kick had really layered harmonies and were not of the era of the Warrants and the Wingers. They were around that time, but more towards the back end, and they didn't look that way, and they didn't really sound that way. And I wonder if they would have come out the way they sounded and looked a couple years later when Soundgarden and all of that exploded, would they have be looked at differently? Because people that know them kind of put them in that mid-'80s world, even though they're actually later than that, and there's a lot more different stuff going on. And they had a big hit. Love Is on the Way was, I think, like a #1 song or something. It was a huge song, but of course it was a ballad, and it really wasn't indicative of what the rest of the band did. But yeah, to say they became huge, even though they had a big hit single, not even close. These days, the band really doesn't exist anymore, although their guitarist and main songwriter, Jason Bieler, also will be on the cruise and at the pre-party, and I see Jason often, or not often, but a few times a year. He has another record coming out. He's been making records under his own name, and they're kind of progressive rock leaning. And the second one is coming out very soon. So I'm sure around the time of the cruise, we'll have Jason on. It's going to be, when I do these shows, I think I'm going to try to do one from the pre-event, and then there's going to be 3 on the ship. It's going to be like a revolving door of people grabbing the headset and coming on with us from Monsters of Rock, as is usually the case. So it's going to be like a free-for-all week, basically, for that thing. Thank you to Syncin, who is leader of the Sync Army and fighting the epidemic out there of bands not playing live.